Hi, I'm Jon Kirkman. I'm a broadcaster and journalist based in the UK, and I'm here today with another reminder in the continuing series of suggestions that you may have missed or maybe may interest you. Today we're talking about some of the great box sets that have been released via Cherry Red. Some of them via Esoteric, some of them via Cherry Red themselves. I'm going to start with this one, Ken Hensley. Remember Ken? Well, he was the founding member and keyboard player and slide guitar player with Uriah Heep. And he was hoping this year to be actually touring and celebrating the 50th anniversary of Uriah Heep by playing Uriah Heep material. Now, if you've ever seen Ken Hensley live, he's got an amazing solo career as well as being a member of Uriah Heep. He was briefly a member of Blackfoot, and he made a number of solo albums. These albums were made for the Bronze Records label. Two of them, this one here, Proud Words on a Dusty Shelf and Eager to Please, they were made while Ken was still with Uriah Heep. The third one, Free Spirit, was made just after he left Uriah Heep, which followed the Conquest tour and album. Now again, what you get in here, you get all these albums in a lovely little sort of package, and they are reproduced sort of there. I mean, it's a bit difficult to read, particularly if you're my age. You need a magnifying glass, but they are beautifully packaged, and you get the CD in there, and there you go. Now, the great thing about this particular album, there's a song on here called Rain, which many of you will know was on the Magician's Birthday album by Uriah Heep. Totally different version on here. And it's a beautiful version. I like both of them. Ken's rather fond of them both as well. I mean, I think it's one of his one of the songs he really feels proud about. And that's another album. This was recorded again at the time when Ken was still with Uriah Heep. Now, what you get as well in the box set is his third album for Bronze Records. This is about 1981. This is called Free Spirit. I still don't know what the meaning of the red shoe is. Although he does, he does go into a little bit of detail in the booklet, although he's not really sure himself, I don't think. It's one of those kind of art director things, really. What you get here is a nice little poster featuring some of the images from the albums, of course, and some of the promo images that were about at the time, labels of various singles and that. On the other side, you get a little bit of info and some of the track listings of the respective solo albums. And what you get, he drops it, tell it's live. What he gets here is an extra disc. Now, here, Ken is interviewed by the legendary British rock journalist Malcolm Doan. Malcolm's a good friend of mine, lovely guy, and he really gets to the nitty-gritty there with Ken about this, and Ken's talking about all those albums, so you get to watch Ken discussing how the albums came about. And Malcolm asks some really, really good questions, as you would expect from Malcolm Doan. The guy is a big favourite writer of mine, written many books, journalist. I first became aware of Malcolm Doan when he was writing for Kerrang. Lovely guy, very knowledgeable, and there's really, really good interviews on here about each of the solo albums. That is one of the box sets that are available. Now here's another favourite of mine. This is the Babies, of course, led by John Waite. Now the Babies came out in 1976. Their first album, well, in fact all their albums were on Chrysalis. And they got the deal with Chrysalis not by sending in an audio demo, they made a filmed demo. With Mike Mansfield. You may remember Mike Mansfield was the director and the guy behind the Supersonic TV show in the UK. And they did that. It was a really unique sort of way of getting a record deal at the time. I'm sure they had to submit songs as well. Because I don't know whether I don't think they were actually signed by doing the video. But then that's the legend, isn't it? And sometimes the legend sounds better than the actual fact. But they were a great band at the time, and I must say, again, all these albums come in miniature album sleeves, digipacks. That's the first one, the self-titled Babies album. One of my favourites, Broken Heart, Head First. Now, here's where they started making inroads into America with the Union Jacks album and On the Edge album. They were really, really good albums and very, very much American sort of themed, if you like. Of course, on this particular album, Jonathan Cain was the keyboard player. Jonathan, after the Babies, went into Journey and was hugely successful with that band and is still in Journey as far as I know. Now here's the real pull. This is a live album from the Babies, and also on the back you'll see that these were the original demos. Some of these songs appeared on Broken Heart on the very first Babies album. Some of them never appeared at all at the time. So there's some great stuff in there. And if you're a sort of fan of the Babies, or if you're a fan of a sort of classic melodic rock, then I think this box set will interest you. The band are still going, not with John Waite these days, but Wally Stocker and Tony Brock are still the mainstays in the band. There's a nice poster that you get there with them. And again, sadly, I was supposed to be working with these guys in America earlier this year, and due to the pandemic, you get the lyrics and a lot of the notes about the albums in there. Sadly, that never happened, but hopefully we will get to do it at some point in the future. Moving on now, Spirit. They were a band who, I'm going to just say they were weird, but weird in a totally great way. This was a concept album that never came out at the time. In fact, I think it came out quite a few years later, and it's called Potato Land. Yeah, a strange title for an album, but it's got some great music on this album. And of course, this box set gathers together the original album, and of course, you get a couple of booklets there, and of course, all the various bonus tracks and rarities. It's 4 discs. Now, if you know anything about Spirit, you'll know that sadly, I'm pretty sure most of them are no longer with us. Certainly on this album, Ed Cassidy is no longer with us, and neither is Randy California. I must say, Jay Ferguson and I think it's Mark Andes, they're still alive. They went into different bands after Spirit, but I think this is an album for the real Spirit fan. There's been a few compilations out, and of course there's a very famous lawsuit not that long ago regarding Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin actually won that lawsuit, but the various copyright holders on the Spirit catalogue claimed that Stairway to Heaven had been plagiarised, I think is the correct term. Anyway, it went to court and it was found out that it hadn't been plagiarised. Potato Land, though, certainly one to check out. Moving on to this one, McGann. Remember this? Well, of course, McGann, or Mike McGann, is actually Mike McCartney, although his stage name was Mike McGann. He was originally very, very much, and still is, very much part of The Scaffold. They've just done a wonderful record, a re-recording of Thank You Very Much, which will sort of raise money for the NHS. So it was great to have those guys do that. But this album came out in 1974. Essentially, it's Mike McCartney and Wings. It was produced and put together by Mike and, of course, his brother Paul. You may remember him. He was in a band once called the Beatles. He's still quite famous and he's still out there doing it. You get a nice kind of poster of all the various sheets in their lyrics and ideas and things there. And I have to say that this box set has sold incredibly well. I was lucky enough to go to the launch of the box set actually at Lipper in Liverpool, and I must say it was a grand turnout. We got to see all the videos. Here's a nice little poster. I've got a nice poster that's actually signed by Mike in my studio. In fact, that particular poster, and that was that's basically the inner spread of the McGann album, and that was the full cover, front and back. And you can see there's various members of Wings, including Macca, on the cover. This is also available on vinyl, limited edition vinyl, I have to say. I don't know how many are left, but it was available on vinyl. Now what you get here again, there you go, there's Mike and Big Bro Paul. You get a number of discs in here. You get the album McGann, which has been remastered. And of course, there's bonus tracks on all of these things. Then you get an entire disc of previously unreleased material. And then you get a DVD which has the very, very rarely seen video for the single Leave It, which was a hit single in the UK, and written by Paul. And I remember it getting played so much on the radio back in 1974. So they made a video for it. And you get to see the video on the DVD, and also an interview where Mike talks about the album, how it came about. And of course, this was Mike's second solo album. His first solo album came out around about 18 months, maybe 2 years before. It was called Woman. That had done very, very well. And it was thought when he signed to Warner Brothers that this particular album would do quite well. It probably did. It was released in America. There was a lot of interest at the time, I remember, about this album coming out. It's still a great album. It's got some great songs on it. And I have to say that, hey, maybe in another universe somewhere, it's Mike McCartney and Wings. Wouldn't that be a nice thought? Mike's a lovely guy, and there's a lot of work gone into this, and he did a lot of digging around to find all the various outtakes and different versions and different mixes of the songs, and of course all the previously unreleased material. Definitely one for the Mike McCartney and the Beatles fans out there. It's a really, really good album. Okay, finally this time around, Refugee. Do you remember them? Well, there's two reasons to remember them, apart from the fact that they were an absolutely fabulous band. Two of the guys in Refugee had previously been in The Nice with Keith Emerson. This gentleman here had previously been in a band called Main Horse, and after Refugee would join Yes as a replacement for Rick Wakeman. And I have to say that the album that Patrick made for Yes, or made with Yes, Relay, stands out as pretty much unique. It's very much a standout album in the Yes catalogue. His talents on the Refugee album are second to none. Now what you get in here, you get the original album, then you get a live album. As you can see, there's 3 discs in here, and I must say that they really are well worth spending the money on. And there you go. That's is it that one? Yeah, this is one that is live on the radio. Okay, that one is live in Newcastle. And they did actually perform one nice song in the live set. But this album, I think it's a real crying shame that the band never got to make another album, because as a debut album, I really, really believe this was the start of something very, very special. Anyway, it's been remastered. It's been put together again beautifully by the people at Esoteric, and is available to order even now as we speak via the Cherry Red website, which is cherryred.co.uk. As ever, they have been selling out and sending out material via mail order whilst the lockdown has been in place. Go to the website, it's cherryred.co.uk, click on the menu on the left hand side, put in Refugee, or any of these bands, Refugee, Mike McCartney, Spirit, Ken Hensley, The Babies. You will find all of these albums available to order now, all these box sets. They're reasonably priced as well, very reasonably priced. And in the case of The Babies, you actually get pretty much all of their classic material all gathered together in one box, and 2 very rare albums, a live album and an album of early recorded demos, so well worth getting. Anyway, thanks for listening to me today. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.